Does AMD care about PC gamers? You can already sense that the pitchforks are rising up right now and the dislikes are dropping, but it doesn't mean that AMD will give PC gamers a bad GPU. This doesn't mean that their graphics cards are a bad value, because AMD is a lot bigger of a company than any of us might ever think. This video might open your eyes to how much AMD does and how small the gaming market is in comparison. I had so many people telling me that the Steam hardware survey wasn't an accurate reading. I'm gonna make a whole video about that, but I just wanted to give you a quick representation here. According to the John Pelion Research Company, the discrete GPU market in Q4 of 2022 had AMD, the dark blue one, at 9% of the total market. Nvidia is at 85% of the total market. This isn't the Steam hardware survey, okay? And the Steam hardware survey actually only placed Nvidia at 75% because this discrete market doesn't include the integrated graphics that AMD and Intel offer. Despite AMD only having 9% of the market share in Q4 of 2022, AMD had a revenue of $23.6 billion. Now you compare that to Nvidia's gross revenue, and you can see it's really not that far off, even though AMD only makes up 9% of that market. If that doesn't show you that AMD is far more than just graphics cards, then I don't know what will. So AMD is obviously a public company, and they do a financials report to all of their investors. So you actually get to see a lot of this stuff completely written out for you. Even though 2022 we started to see a decline in computer component sales because of the COVID boom where everyone needed computers, AMD was still up 44% over 2021, and they said it was driven by their higher embedded chip sales, their data center sales, and that gaming segment revenue. They say that AMD generated a total of $6.8 billion of revenue from gaming chips. Gaming chips include their Radeon graphics cards, their APUs, and anything for consoles. Consoles make up a surprising amount of AMD's gaming market. Now, every console that is basically available right now, except for the Switch, which does use Nvidia, I'm pretty sure it's a Tegra chip, the Steam Deck, the PS5, and the Xbox Series, and not to mention the previous generation, PS4 and Xbox, both used AMD as well. They all used AMD APUs. The PS5 has sold about 30 to 32 million consoles, and Xbox is probably about 20 million. They make chips for all of those things, and though gaming revenue overall seemed like it was going to be down a lot last year, is only down 7% because the SoCs, the systems on a chip, the APUs in consoles have been selling really well. Over the past couple years, they've actually become profitable, whereas in 2020, AMD was operating at a loss when selling to consoles. They made $6 billion off of data center chips, $6.2 billion off of PC processors, so that's Ryzen, and $4.5 billion off of embedded chips. And embedded chips are surprisingly a lot bigger than you guys would ever think. I was wondering what those were as well. What embedded chips are all of the computers that are in your cars. AMD is big in that market apparently. And then the data center chips, which is crazy because that almost beats out their entire gaming market, and that includes consoles and Radeon. Their data center chips are their EPYC processors that is taking away all that market share from Intel right now. So even though AMD's gaming sector is very large, it doesn't seem like it's because of their dedicated GPUs. They only are in 8% of the dedicated GPU market. It seems like to me that they just want to be in it. They have the technology. They can't just let Nvidia completely take over. They can just follow whatever Nvidia is doing with their marketing. They don't have to be like the one first to things. They don't have to make DLSS first. They don't have to innovate with ray tracing. They can be a generation late on ray tracing. It doesn't really matter. That is also a big reason why AMD might be making their software open source. You see GPU open, and all of AMD's software is completely accessible to the public and kind of a joint effort. In my mind, even though it seems like AMD is just being like the good guy, which I respect them for making it open source, especially because it doesn't seem like it's their highest priority. So what they can do by making their software open source is see what the community wants from it, see what the community does with it, and then improve upon it themselves, instead of how Nvidia has to approach it because they are the majority, they are the ones innovating technologically in the space. Nvidia has to be the ones to improve their software. Whereas AMD can just keep pushing their GPU technology, sell it to consoles, and work on their CPU market and still have a very profitable company that's almost as big as Nvidia overall, even though their dedicated GPU market is completely down right now. Something else interesting to note is AMD has PR highlights on their financial report. And one of these PR highlights is announcing their 7900 series graphics cards. Yes, these do also mention PR moves with Ryzen X3D chips, which I think is also interesting because it's almost like this is like their PR moves that appeal to the mainstream audience. And they didn't even mention Ryzen 7000 series as one of these things, maybe because it wasn't received as positively. This is what the average person wants to see from AMD. They want to see the consumer side of things. And you never know, in a generation or two, maybe AMD will see that the dedicated GPU market is something they should pursue a little bit more heavily, maybe with extra competition from Intel in the space. If Intel gets kind of close for value, maybe they might want to put a little bit more of their efforts into the GPU market. This would really explain why AMD is very complacent in their position. When Nvidia launched their GPUs in September of 2022, AMD specifically waited almost 2 months to announce anything or talk about anything. Do they really need to pursue PC gaming like that? They're not really focusing on this market as much as they maybe could be, which by a business perspective, it's fine though. But that's kind of like one of the reasons why nothing is checking Nvidia. Nvidia is going to keep rising their prices and AMD is just going to have to follow because AMD isn't actually competing in this space. Nvidia has probably realized that over these years as AMD has expanded to the embedded chips. Their Ryzen market is huge. Their data center market with EPYC is huge as well. They don't really need the dedicated GPU market as much, but they're going to stay in it because they're the technology from Radeon for all of their other processing, and it's good to have a competitor in the space. If it was just Nvidia, we would have a problem. Even though AMD doesn't seem like this is their main focus, I do appreciate them for being in the space, offering good value. Give me your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the comments. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. You know, there's a lot of comments now, guys. That's been it for me. Peace.